Hello everybody. You will notice the scenery has changed a little bit and we have added another person. This is my very good friend Kayla.
Hello.
And today we're going to be talking about dungeon mastering. Now Kayla, how many times have you been a dungeon master?
0.
That's right folks. We are popping a cherry today on training day. Kayla, how long have you been playing Dungeons & Dragons?
About a year total, maybe?
Okay, and how many different DMs have you played under?
3.
In your mind, what makes a good DM? When do you have the most fun playing Dungeons & Dragons?
I like a DM who can put some comedy into it. I mean, I like fighting and all that, it's fun, but what my favorite part was like the laughing and the funny situations and kind of being in control, so to speak, of where I get to go and what I get to do.
What would you say are some of your biggest concerns going into dungeon mastering? I mean, why haven't you done it yet?
Because it seems like there's a lot you have to know. Whenever a player has a concern or whenever they're trying to do something, the first person they say, "Can I do this?" is the DM. I want to know kind of the particulars about what you need and what you need prepped, that the other people can't see behind your little wall of, secrecy. And also, it just seems kind of intimidating because I don't want to waste anyone's time. They're spending like 3 to 5 hours of their time expecting to have fun, and I don't want to just blow it and waste their time.
All very valid things. Most people, when they first start DMing, that's one of the big hurdles that they have to cross is, how am I supposed to do this? What am I supposed to do? What am I supposed to know? So we'll go over all that and a few more things. In its most basic form, DMing is about being a storyteller. You are the storyteller for the entire story. You direct it towards its inevitable end. Everything has an end, and we want to make sure that it's going in a certain direction. The main purpose and the biggest concern that any DM should have is making sure that the story keeps going. Sometimes that means leading the player characters in a certain direction, so that they can continue the story and be able to continue to have fun. Sometimes that means ignoring the 4 hours of prep work you put in because they want to go in a completely different direction. And every so often it's limiting the player characters because what they want to do will either break the campaign or will cause more issues than it solves. So again, the overall mindset that you should have is, I want this story to continue. Keep the story going, keep people having fun and being entertained with a direction in mind. Because one of the easiest ways for people to get tired and bored with Dungeons and Dragons is for it to become pointless or directionless, where they can just do anything and it doesn't really seem like their actions are having any effect on the world as a whole because there's no direction to the game. One of the first things I had to learn was how to be descriptive and really create word pictures. And one of the best ways to do that, find an author that you really love, that you really enjoy, and read their works aloud. It's a great way to get some of the more unique phrasings and things like that, get you more comfortable with it. And books have to paint word pictures. They don't have pictures to go with them unless it's like Curious George, and that's a completely different book. If you're going See Spot Run and reading that, maybe you need to find a little bit harder books. One of the other things you mentioned is, the ability to have fun and do a lot of different things and have, an open world to go in. The easiest way for a dungeon master to give their players choice is to follow the basic rules of improv. The first rule of improv is always say yes. It keeps the story going, it keeps the improv going, and it really creates a lot of fun. The same is true with dungeon mastering to a point. You want to always say yes with exception. The only time you're going to say no is if what they want to do will somehow break the campaign. Maybe they want to do something that in the physics of the world just doesn't work. That's when you have to go, unfortunately that doesn't work, and steer them in a different direction. Sometimes that's by flat out saying no. Sometimes that's by using your word pictures and things like that to present a different option
So no
and
wings sprouting
incentivize.
out of your back and
I'm going to go and kill a bird and then use its feathers to fly. In general, I try to avoid the I am the dungeon master and therefore my rule is law. What I prefer to do, and what most good dungeon masters will do, is they will give you a different option and incentivize it. You know, maybe somebody wants to go, well, I want to go over here and I want to punch this guard in the face. And the player characters don't realize that the guard is, you know, a super powerful mage that if you punch him in the face, he will incinerate the entire town. So you incentivize them going, well, you could do that. Or you see over here, this person kind of, you know, waving you over. Perhaps you should go in that direction. And look, they've got money and candies and a pony.
come here, little boy.
Yes, come here into my unmarked white carriage. And then the player character was never seen again. The best thing, if they are doing something that's going to break the campaign, find ways to incentivize them to do something else. We're going to be doing Dungeon Mastering in 4th edition, which is a little bit easier because you can use maps and you can use minis and things like that. And it can be very, very fun. It becomes much more strategic in combat. It becomes very strategic even in your skill challenges and things like that, because they have these really cool maps to go off of and they can move their pieces all around. The basic rule of thumb with Dungeon Mastering, as far as being prepared, is for each hour of playtime you're going to be doing, you should be putting about an hour of prep work. So if you're going to DM a game that's going to last 4 hours, over that week before the game, you should put about 4 hours of prep work in. Whether it's looking at your monster blocks, building encounters, if you're using a pre-made adventure, just reading over the adventure a few times so that you know what's supposed to happen when. And I will always look at what's written there and also think, well, where else could this go? If you're writing your own campaign or using a pre-made campaign, look at what they give you and try and think outside of the box a little bit so you're not quite as surprised when they do something like, well, you mentioned that there's some oil in that thing. I want to pick it up, light it on fire, and throw it at the bad guy. I never thought of that, but theoretically it should work. Now I have to start figuring out how to do it. The other thing you want to make sure you're using, use the tools that are out there. Obviously, picking up the books for whatever system you're using, like picking up the core rule books for D&D 4th edition will help you immensely. The other thing that's really useful is a D&D Insider account. Gives you access to almost all of the information in all the core rule books and all the expanded rule books and Dungeon Magazine and Dragon Magazine. It gives you all of that knowledge in one neat little area. That's all for this episode. The next few episodes, we're going to be going a little bit more into specifics. I will see you at the next training session. Bye.